Guys, welcome back to Football with the Fam. And if you've just seen, Manchester City are going into the second leg against Bayern Munich in the Champions League with a 3-goal cushion, a comfortable 3-goal cushion at that. And I think it's safe to say that I'm never doubting Pep Guardiola's tactical brilliance ever again. Clearly, he's the best manager in the world, and he has a team that just follows his instructions to a T. You know, coming into this game, we saw that Manchester City we're going to run a 3-5-2 formation where John Stones was kind of going to be that holding midfielder that allowed Rodri to get forward, allowed Gundogan to get forward. And we saw a lot of ghosting runs from Gundogan in this game. But when Manchester City were out of possession, they fell into a flat 4-4-2 and really frustrated Bayern on all ends. Leroy Sané could not get into his stride. Kingsley Coman was getting pocketed by Akanji. Serge Gnabry up top against John Stones, and Ruben Diaz was always going to be a formality. I mean, with no real attacking threat up top, Bayern were always going to struggle in this game. And Manchester City, the way that they play sometimes is just so intricate and beautiful. Today was a windy day in Manchester, rainy day, tough conditions. And they made it seem like this is an ordinary walk in the park. Bayern Munich in the first half also played some brilliant football, don't get me wrong. And apart from the lapse in judgment on the first goal, which brilliant goal from Rodri, by the way. I mean, it was a belter. It was an absolute stunner from outside the box on his weak foot no less. But that goal came from a lapse in judgment, and that was the story of Bayern Munich today. But let's get into it. Let's get into it one by one. We're going to go through it and analyze and see where it all went wrong for Bayern and where it all went right for Manchester City. First, let's just talk about the brilliance, the absolute brilliance of Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan. I mean, you never would have thought that those two would link up so much and so well. But there's something about Kevin De Bruyne that is just so infuriating to see as a rival fan in Manchester United because our players don't do this. They don't execute these types of things how Kevin De Bruyne does. He's so good at lurking in and around the box. He stays around the edge of the box because he knows that his winger, or in other cases a fullback, are going to try and drag the defenders out of position with an overlapping run. So when he receives the ball, he just whips it in first time. Doesn't take a touch most of the time. Just straight whips it in. And who's there to get on it most of the time? It's Ilkay Gundogan. You would think, okay, Erling Haaland, the robot, he's the main target up top. But no, Ilkay Gundogan makes ghosting runs into the box, which we've seen Granit Xhaka do to really good effect this season. For Arsenal, Gundogan is doing the same thing. He's probably been doing it for even longer. And in matches like this, there are things that separate the giants of football. Lapses of judgment is probably the biggest thing. You know, forgetting to track a runner, forgetting to mark your man, you know, kind of ignoring your defensive duties. Those are the things that will set you apart from the best of the best. Today, we saw Joshua Kimmich follow and track his runners, but his teammates unfortunately just didn't do the same. There were so many lapses in judgment in this game, especially in the second half from Bayern Munich, that if not for Jan Sommer in goal, this could have been completely worse. Manchester City are also extremely patient. They will work around a huge block of players. They will continue to pass, continue to move, continue to provide options for each other. We saw that so many times in this game where Haaland would drop deep. Jack Grealish sometimes would be at the center of midfield to give his teammates an option or to defend. I mean, it seemed honestly like Manchester City just wanted it more this game. In the second half, Bayern Munich came out with intensity, as they should. They're 1-0 down. They need to get back into the game. So the start of the second half was actually really brilliant. End-to-end football. At a point, I thought Bayern Munich would get back into the game. And then Upamecano, another lapse of judgment. Another ridiculous lapse of judgment for a professional of his standard to give the ball away. And from there, what do you expect Manchester City to do? They're going to just devastate you. Do you probably use that word? Devastate? No, I don't think. They're just really good. They're just going to run all over you if you give them the opportunity. Upamecano gives the ball away. Haaland finds Bernardo Silva. It's 2-0. It's 2-0 at that point. And from there, that's when the game was over. Manchester City just completely dominated. They got their third goal. And after that, I mean, it could have been 4, 5, or 6-0, if not for some brilliant saves from Jan Sommer. I mean, absolutely brilliant. He kept them in the game. If by some miracle they actually managed to beat Manchester City in the second leg, beat them on goal difference and move on to the semifinal, Jan Sommer is going to be the man of the year for Bayern. And that actually lets me segue into Bayern's terrible second half. The first half, they weren't terrible by any means. They just didn't threaten Manchester City how Manchester City threatened them. You could kind of tell from the beginning of the game that Manchester City had they had it. They had dominance. They were able to hold possession better than Bayern Munich would. Bayern would give the ball away a lot. It was either Kingsley Coman or Alphonso Davies or somebody trying to dribble past Akanji or trying to dribble past Ake. It just didn't work. It didn't work. Manchester City wanted it more. You could tell. Akanji would make lunging tackles. Ake would use his whole body to try and stop advancing players like Coman. I mean, obviously, starting with Gnabry up top is already kind of leaving you at a handicap. You have Thomas Muller on the bench. You have Sadio Mane on the bench. Players who could play in that number 9 role and still be more effective than Serge Gnabry. I mean, Gnabry's a winger. A lot of times, Bayern would get caught in two minds. First half, I thought Upamecano was brilliant with his ball distribution. He was able to drive out of defense and find some really great passes, defense splitting passes. But in the second half, this man literally turned into Harry Maguire. I don't know what happened. He just wasn't in it. He wasn't there. Gave the ball away for the second goal, gave the ball away numerous amount of times, so much so that Paramount announcers are pretty much just blasting him for Bayern losing the game. I mean, I think it was a collective effort. The entire Bayern squad, apart from Jan Sommer, Joshua Kimmich, just didn't look good today. They didn't look up for the game, and that's something that they're going to have to address in the second leg, but how are they going to come back in the second leg from a 3-goal deficit? I'll tell you exactly how they do that. I don't actually think they can. I think it's over for Bayern Munich. Manchester City have only conceded 3 goals in the Champions League this season. 3. They've scored triple that amount, if not more, quadruple that amount. Beating Bayern Munich 3-0 at home is huge for any team, let alone Manchester City, who are unstoppable. And it kind of looks like they're going to continue to be unstoppable because there's this game in the Champions League. They have the title race with Arsenal. I mean, they look like the real deal. Manchester City have always been the real deal, obviously, for the past how many ever years. But this really scares me. Like, this current squad, this current philosophy, this current crop of players mixed in with Pep Guardiola is scary. It's scary. The second leg is looking like a 1-1. It's looking like a 1-1. Manchester City advance to face either Real Madrid or Chelsea in the semifinal. And we know how that goes. If Manchester City end up playing Real Madrid, I think, you know what? Normally I would have said Real Madrid take it, but this season, I don't know. Manchester City have a good shout to win the Champions League. As much as it pains me to say that, they have a great shout to win the Champions League. Chelsea, Real Madrid, I cannot wait for that game tomorrow, and I'm going to cover it. I'm actually going to be at my friend's house, so maybe expect something a little collab with my friend. But let me know what you guys think about the game today. It was 1-0 at halftime. I thought was respectable. I thought Manchester City deserved it. I thought Bayern would get back into the game. Manchester City fully deserved the win. They actually deserve to win by more. And I want to know your guys' thoughts. I want to know what you think about this game. And what do you think about the second leg? Do you think Bayern Munich have a chance to come back? Or do you think it's wraps? Do you think Manchester City, this is their best chance to win the Champions League? Let me know down in the comments below. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends so we can continue to grow this channel. Because like I always say, you guys are the fam. And we got to keep building the family. Peace.